Between Europe and Asia, there's a special place called Azerbaijan. Nestled at the crossroads of these two continents, Azerbaijan is a land of contrasts and diversity. Its unique geographic location has made it a melting pot of cultures, traditions, and histories. This small yet vibrant country offers a rich tapestry of experiences that reflect its storied past and dynamic present. It has a really interesting history and culture. Azerbaijan's cultural heritage is a blend of ancient traditions and modern influences. The country is known for its vibrant music, dance and art scenes, which have been shaped by centuries of interaction with various civilizations. From the rhythmic beats of traditional Azerbaijani music to the graceful movements of its dance forms. The cultural landscape of Azerbaijan is both diverse and captivating. Because it was on the Silk Road, lots of different groups of people lived there, like Persians, Russians, Ottomans, and Mongols. The Silk Road was not just a trade route, but a conduit for cultural exchange. As merchants and travelers passed through Azerbaijan, they brought with them their customs, languages, and traditions. This confluence of cultures has left an indelible mark on the country, making it a mosaic of ethnicities and influences. They all added something to Azerbaijan, making it the place it is today. The architectural landscape of Azerbaijan is a testament to its diverse history. From ancient fortresses and palaces to modern skyscrapers, the country's buildings tell the story of its past. Each empire that ruled over Azerbaijan left behind a legacy, contributing to the rich architectural heritage that can be seen in cities and towns across the nation. Azerbaijan is full of different things, like tall mountains with snow and the Caspian Sea. The natural beauty of Azerbaijan is as diverse as its cultural heritage. The towering peaks of the Caucasus Mountains offer breathtaking views and are a haven for outdoor enthusiasts. Meanwhile, the Caspian Sea, the largest inland body of water in the world, provides a stunning contrast with its serene waters and bustling coastal cities. It has nice valleys where people lived a long time ago, and big open areas where people used to ride horses. The valleys of Azerbaijan are lush and fertile, providing a stark contrast to the rugged mountains. These valleys have been home to communities for centuries, offering a glimpse into their traditional way of life. The open plains and steppes were once the domain of nomadic tribes who roamed the land on horseback, a tradition that continues to be celebrated in Azerbaijani culture. From the busy city of Baku, the capital, to the peaceful Caucasus Mountains, Azerbaijan is a mix of old and new. Baku, the capital city, is a bustling metropolis that seamlessly blends the old with the new. Its modern skyline is punctuated by futuristic skyscrapers, while its historic old town, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, offers a journey back in time. The contrast between the urban energy of Baku and the tranquil beauty of the Caucasus Mountains encapsulates the essence of Azerbaijan. The people there are known for being friendly, welcoming, and loving music, poems, and art. Azerbaijani people are renowned for their hospitality and warmth. They take great pride in their cultural heritage, which is reflected in their love for music, poetry, and art. Traditional Azerbaijani music, with its unique instruments and melodies, is an integral part of the country's cultural identity. Poetry and art also hold a special place in Azerbaijani society, with many famous poets and artists hailing from this region. Their traditions are very important to them. Traditions play a crucial role in the lives of Azerbaijani people. From traditional clothing and cuisine to festivals and celebrations, these customs are passed down through generations, preserving the cultural fabric of the nation. Traditional Azerbaijani attire, with its vibrant colors and intricate designs, is often worn during special occasions and cultural events, showcasing the country's rich heritage. Even when other countries ruled them, they kept their culture alive. Despite periods of foreign rule and occupation, the people of Azerbaijan have always managed to preserve their cultural identity. Whether under Persian, Ottoman, or Russian influence, Azerbaijani traditions have endured, adapting to changing circumstances while retaining their core essence. This resilience is a testament to the strength and pride of the Azerbaijani people. This video will look at how Azerbaijan went from being part of the Soviet Union to being its own country. The journey of Azerbaijan from being a part of the Soviet Union to gaining independence is a significant chapter in its history. During the Soviet era, Azerbaijan underwent substantial changes, both positive and negative. The influence of Soviet policies and practices can still be seen in various aspects of Azerbaijani life, from architecture to education. We'll talk about the hard times and the good times that shaped Azerbaijan and its people. The history of Azerbaijan is marked by periods of hardship and triumph. From the struggles for independence to the challenges of nation building, the Azerbaijani people have shown remarkable resilience and determination. This video will explore the key events and milestones that have shaped the country's journey, highlighting the strength and spirit of its people. We'll see what it was like living under Soviet rule, how they fought for freedom, and how tough it was to build a new country. Life under Soviet rule was a complex and often challenging experience for the people of Azerbaijan. The struggle for independence was a pivotal moment in the country's history, marked by both sacrifice and hope. The early years of nation building were fraught with difficulties, but they also laid the foundation for a new, independent Azerbaijan. This video will delve into these critical periods, offering insights into the resilience and determination that have defined the Azerbaijani spirit. After the Russian Revolution, Azerbaijan was its own country for a little while, experiencing a brief period of independence from 1918 to 1920. This was a time of great hope and ambition for the Azerbaijani people, who were eager to establish their own identity and governance. However, this newfound independence was short-lived. In 1922, Azerbaijan became part of the Soviet Union, marking the beginning of a new era. The incorporation into the Soviet Union brought significant changes to the country, both positive and negative. The Soviet regime imposed a centralized control over all aspects of life, fundamentally altering the social, economic, and political landscape of Azerbaijan. This started a new time for Azerbaijan, a time with both good and bad things. On one hand, the Soviet period saw the development of infrastructure, education, and industry. The streets of Baku and other cities were modernized, and new buildings and public spaces were constructed. The Soviet government invested heavily in education, leading to higher literacy rates and the establishment of universities and research institutions. However, the Soviets controlled everything: the government and how people made money. The centralized planning system meant that all economic activities were directed by the state, leaving little room for individual entrepreneurship or local decision-making. The government dictated what industries would be developed and how resources would be allocated, often prioritizing the needs of the Soviet Union over those of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan had a lot of oil, which was important for the Soviet Union during World War II. The oil fields of Baku were among the most productive in the world, and their output was crucial for the Soviet war effort. Azerbaijani oil fueled Soviet tanks, planes, and ships, playing a key role in the eventual victory over Nazi Germany. This strategic importance brought both development and hardship to the region. Factories were built, and things changed quickly. The rapid industrialization transformed Azerbaijan from a primarily agrarian society into an industrial hub. New factories and industrial complexes were established, creating jobs and boosting the economy. However, this rapid change also brought environmental degradation and social upheaval, as traditional ways of life were disrupted. But this wasn't all good. The forced collectivization of agriculture led to widespread suffering among the rural population. Many farmers lost their land and livelihoods, and food shortages became common. The rapid urbanization and industrialization also led to overcrowded cities and inadequate housing, creating difficult living conditions for many people. The Soviets didn't want people to celebrate Azerbaijani culture. They imposed strict controls on cultural expression, seeking to homogenize the diverse cultures within the Soviet Union. Traditional music, dance, and art were suppressed, and many cultural events were either banned or heavily regulated. The Soviet authorities promoted Russian culture and language at the expense of local traditions. They didn't want people speaking their language or doing things the way they always had. The use of the Azerbaijani language was discouraged, and Russian was promoted as the language of education, government, and business. Many Azerbaijani books and publications were confiscated or destroyed, and people were often punished for speaking their native language in public. They even made it hard to practice their religion, and they sometimes used mosques for other things. The Soviet regime was officially atheist and sought to diminish the influence of religion in society. Many mosques were closed, repurposed, or destroyed, and religious leaders were persecuted. Despite these efforts, many people continued to practice their faith in secret, preserving their religious traditions. Even with these problems, the people of Azerbaijan did great things in science, writing, and art. Azerbaijani scientists made significant contributions to various fields, including chemistry, physics, and medicine. Writers and poets continued to produce important works, often using subtle means to express their cultural identity and resistance to Soviet control. Artists found ways to incorporate traditional themes into their work, keeping their heritage alive. But deep down, they still wanted to be their own country, especially because the Soviets were trying to change their culture. The desire for independence never faded, and many Azerbaijanis continued to dream of a future where they could freely express their cultural identity and govern themselves. This longing for freedom and self-determination eventually culminated in the independence movement of the late 20th century, leading to the eventual dissolution of the Soviet Union and the re-establishment of Azerbaijan as a sovereign nation. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union was starting to fall apart. The once mighty empire, which had been a dominant force in global politics and economics, was now showing signs of severe internal decay. Economic stagnation, political corruption, and a lack of basic freedoms were causing widespread dissatisfaction among its citizens. The centralized control that had once held the vast nation together was now becoming its Achilles heel, as people from various republics began to question the very foundation of the Soviet state. A leader named Mikhail Gorbachev tried to make things more open and change how the government worked. He introduced policies like perestroika, which aimed at restructuring the economy, and glasnost, which promoted openness and transparency in government affairs. These reforms were intended to modernize the Soviet Union and make it more efficient, but they also had unintended consequences. By allowing more freedom of expression and reducing the government's tight grip on information, Gorbachev inadvertently unleashed a wave of pent-up frustrations and demands for change. But this actually made people in the different republics want their freedom even more. In the Baltic states, for example, massive protests and demonstrations became a common sight. People were no longer content with the status quo and began to demand independence and self-determination. The spirit of nationalism was rekindled, and the desire for sovereignty spread like wildfire across the Soviet republics. The more Gorbachev tried to reform the system, the more it seemed to unravel. In Azerbaijan, people started asking for more control over their own lives and wanted to protect their culture. The Azerbaijani national movement gained momentum as people rallied to preserve their language, traditions, and way of life. They organized protests and cultural demonstrations, asserting their right to self-governance and cultural preservation. The movement was not just about political independence, it was also about reclaiming their identity and heritage. There was a place called Nagorno-Karabakh, where most people were Armenian, and this caused problems between groups. The region became a flashpoint for ethnic tensions and conflict. Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh sought to join Armenia, while Azerbaijanis wanted to maintain control over the area. This led to violent clashes and a deepening of hostilities between the two communities. The conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh was a microcosm of the larger struggles facing the Soviet Union, as ethnic and national identities clashed with the imposed Soviet structure. The Soviet government tried to stop the protests, but they did terrible things. In an attempt to maintain control, the Soviet authorities resorted to brutal crackdowns and military interventions. Peaceful demonstrations were met with violence, and dissent was crushed with an iron fist. The government's heavy-handed tactics only fueled the anger and resolve of the protesters, who saw the repression as further proof of the need for independence and change. In January 1990, Soviet soldiers hurt a lot of people in Baku. This event, known as Black January, was a turning point in the Azerbaijani national movement. Soviet troops entered Baku to suppress the growing independence movement, resulting in widespread violence and loss of life. The brutality of the crackdown shocked the world and galvanized the Azerbaijani people. It became a symbol of their struggle and a rallying cry for freedom. This terrible event made the people of Azerbaijan even more determined to be free. The bloodshed and suffering only strengthened their resolve to break away from Soviet rule. The national movement gained unprecedented support and the call for independence grew louder. The events of January 1990 were a catalyst for change, setting the stage for Azerbaijan's eventual declaration of independence and the dissolution of the Soviet Union. On August 30th, 1991, Azerbaijan became its own country again. People were happy, but also worried. They were free, but they had to build a whole new country. The happiness didn't last long. The fighting in Nagorno-Karabakh became a big war with Armenia, and many people in Azerbaijan had to leave their homes. The war hurt the country and its economy. Those first years were hard. Let's create and celebrate peace in the world. Please visit us at www.youtube.com/@the Turkish Odyssey. Please subscribe, comment and share. We are truly thankful for your support.